I was pitching my butt off.
Legacy, oh, legacy, oh.
So you can imagine, I'm just blindsided, and I had to ask him, I said, Ralph, I'm sorry, are you gonna give me a job? And he was like, yes, Mara. I was like, oh my God.
Beautiful spaces.
Yes.
Beautiful people.
Yes.
Dealing with some ugly shit.
Okay, come on, brand this. That's what I want for us as people. I want our neighborhoods to be beautified. I want our homes to be organized. She said to me that I was her angel. I mean, I'm done.
Legacy, oh, legacy. I'm so happy to be sitting down with you today to talk about your career, your process.
Thank you for caring.
Yeah. Thank you for caring. I care so much.
I know.
I care so much.
I know. I really always appreciate how you shout me out, how you reach out personally, and our own relationship for each other. It's part of the fun and it's also part of the need. So I thank you.
Well, look, I'm not here without you, which is a real sentence, it's a real statement. And with you, I want to start at the beginning.
Okay.
Your first job, which is a show called South Central.
Yes.
Which
Do you consider that my first job?
I consider it the show that you were in a writer's room in, right? Was that the first writer's room?
Yes.
And that to me is such a big deal when you're a television writer on the journey. What was that like for you being a young writer in that writer's room?
I was talking to Glendon Palmer. I remember this very vividly. And he said, hey, Mara, there's a screening. You know, that was a big thing, to get in someone's screening, to see something and see what. And it's a screening of South Central, created by Ralph Farquhar and Mike Whitehorn. After I saw South Central, I remember turning to Glendon just like this. I was like, that's the show I want. That's who I am. To some way, there was a naivete about how hard it was to get into the writer's room, but then there's also a reality I did know it was hard to get there. So when I got there, I just wanted to pour out. It's all about how do you serve this story? And I understood that intrinsically in the interview. And so what I remember telling him was like, I was born in Compton. You know, I'm from LA. My mother raised 3 kids on her own. I remember telling him, I'm closer to this story than you are.
Wow. And what did Ralph say?
I remember, Ralph got some expressions.
Oh, yeah.
I remember my big moment in the writer's room where I got to really show who I was. Well, I have a pitch. And so I read it aloud, and I remember it was the longest silence. And there's that moment again where you're like, did I win them over? Did I not? And then I remember Ralph made a joke to everybody else. Like, while y'all up here debating, the young one over here,
of course,
doing it. And it was sort of like it brought relief to the room. Everybody laughed. And then I remember everybody started debating it. And that was rough. Because, but that's the writer's room.
Yeah.
You put something out there, and now there's a feeding. Now there is momentum, and you get through it. Your feelings get hurt a little bit. I remember Gina's in the room. I'm like, I thought we were friends. Why are you here? The writer's room is sculpting.
Yeah. And
so we sculpted it. And at the end of the day, I would say I remember feeling like 40 to 50% of what I wrote, maybe 60, it made it.
Wow.
I'm so proud of like most of those words were mine.
It clearly gave you confidence. You were held up in a way that Ralph does.
Completely supported.
Because he's such a father figure.
Oh.
That, he doesn't even know I need.
And still so in it.
In it.
He's not checked out one iota.
He pushing me.
Yeah, yes.
I said,
do better.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay, Ralph.
Yes.
We can't not talk about Moesha.
No, of course.
And so I'm super happy to be able to talk about it again with you. How did you find your way into that writer's room?
First thing I want to say is I was able to stay in LA. I think that's very important to talk about because the opportunities were here. My point being, I had to do some things, I had to go through some things to stay in LA and wait for the opportunity. And the other thing that I did is I lived in Insomnia Cafe.
Oh.
And if you watch Love Is, I literally got the blessing to shoot in there to sort of set the tone for my Inspired by story about me and Celine meeting there. But really my love affair with Insomnia. When I finished my script that I was writing at Insomnia, and I called Ralph and I said, as a mentor, would you please read my script and give me notes? And I got a meeting right away, and I thought, oh my God, he really does care about me as a mentee. when I walked in the door, I started to realize we're not talking about my script. And he started talking about Moesha. And I was sitting there and I was like, I think he's offering me a job. But I came in there asking for, guidance and advice. And so you can imagine I'm just blindsided. And I had to ask him, I said, Ralph, I'm sorry. I remember I said, time out. Are you offering me a job? And he was like, yes, Mara. I was like, oh my God. And I was just like,
Thank God.
Completely, it felt like Christmas. To taste South Central as a writer's trainee and really be a part of that, and to lose it and kind of meander between assistant jobs, PA jobs, unemployment, doubt, fear, all those sort of things, and never coming back out of this door.
No, I mean, talk about...
So what else can I do to help Moesha? Mo to the E to the... I was telling all my life. I literally brought my diary one time to the writer's room. I was and then gems. Ooh. The premiere of the second season is my story. And I remember pitching that. But I knew Ralph, Sarah, and Vita needed that level of support. I was pitching my butt off. Yes. And I realized I got the premiere episode of our second season. Do you know how major that is?
That's huge. Were you more confident? Did you feel a little bit more seasoned now that you had been staffed before? It is Ralph again.
I felt more confident, but I felt more nervous. And I knew early on I was great at story, and I didn't feel as though I was as funny as the people in the room, but I also, and with all due respect, I would notice that I was like, they're funny, but none of this is landing in the script.
Right.
And you realize there's a chemistry in the writer's room where you can just keep people laughing, but I was also like, but how much is landing in the script?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I was good at pitching joke areas, and so it would be like it wouldn't be as funny, but it was the right area because I was good at story. But it's kind of like a toss-up, and then the comedians would eat it up, and then you can get something in the script. Yeah. And I realized that, so I just kept being... So I guess I was a point guard in that way. So I would toss up a lot, but I also have an ego, and I want my thing, and I had to figure out, how do I get my jokes in this script? And I leaned on something that used to save me when I used to get in punishment with my mom. I like to mimic. So I started pitching in Kim's voice because I knew how to do her voice. I'd be like, chicken, get your chicken here.
But it's interesting you say that. If we could talk about the next thing for you is the Jamie Foxx show.
Well, again, here comes this business. I could have stayed on 5th season of Moesha, or do I leave and go see
Leave the nest, too.
Leave the nest, yeah. Do I go and see what's happening over there? And long story short, I chose Jamie Foxx. And what was so fun about that room, first of all, I was the only woman in the room at one point. That room was so much fun with all the guys. How do I come in and be of service? But I also had other people. There were some new people too. So it was a real mix. And we became a unit. Fancy and Jamie were becoming a couple. So I got to talk about relationships, not to the degree that I thought I would or would have, but it was fun to be a part of a reimagining. That's what I was also developing at that time. And as Bentley Evans used to say, Mara, you just won the lotto. You won the lotto. To get a TV show on the air, you just won the lotto. But my point is, those brothers were so happy for me.
Can we talk about that amazing lotto?
Want to talk about the lotto?
We've taken these steps to get to such an amazing place. When someone says your name, the next thing that comes is girlfriends.
It's girlfriends.
It's girlfriends.
It's girlfriends.
I'm 40 now.
Looking all 20.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Watching Joan turning 29, saying she's going to be 26, talking about where she wants to be in life. You do something because, and revisiting it, I had an epiphany. In that what you're not afraid to do is hold up a mirror to our own toxicity.
No, I'm not.
And what I realized in looking at Joan is that Joan has an unhealthy... She says she doesn't have good taste in men. She has a great taste in furniture, great taste in like colleges, the job, the clothes. But she's like, I'm not good at picking the right guy. So I just wanted to say what I love about it is really how futuristic you were being.
Thank you.
But before we get to that, I want to know, what was your vision initially for Girlfriends?
Sophisticated and elevated as Sex and the City. And the opportunity was for me, again, truth through fiction, I wanted to document what was happening to us at the same time. What does our language sound like? What do our details look like? What does vulnerability look like for us? But the point I'm making is just that I wanted to document and explore this idea about having it all. And on top of that was, how do you have it all? You need community.
Yeah.
And in this case, we're going to talk about the chosen family, because most people who come out to Los Angeles, LA is a dreamer city.
Yes. I also love, though, you're dealing with class really well, too, on the show. I mean, in terms of Maya being a teenage mom, which you find out, in the pilot, Tony lives in this like sort of apartment building. She's on her own, and like everything is all white. And Lynn, of course, is always sort of like jumping from, crib to crib.
Yeah.
But yet it all sort of flows really beautifully.
Well, thank you. In craft, that's one of my favorite part is crafting and trying to sort of layer all of these things that are authentically true.
Yeah.
And again, Maya's a dreamer. Maya's going to get her a job at the
law firm.
At the law firm.
As an assistant.
The class to me was far more interesting to talk about than race. These women are Black.
Right.
Okay, that we'll do a story here and there about colorism and all the things.
Sure.
And one of my favorite was when Tony even dated the politician and the whole weave thing.
Yes.
That was fun. But really what was interesting to me is, within us, what issues do we have around class? Because class, even in our country, is really far more the divider than it is about race. Race is the illusion. Race is the okie doke.
Right.
We're so distracted by race, we don't realize how we are being torn apart by class.
Correct.
And so I really wanted to talk about that and how it would look inside this friend group.
Yeah.
And how that echoes back into our larger community. When you get to prove yourself that the first season worked, and they said, oh, I didn't realize you did have all these other stories with the other cast, and it's all working and it's all good. And what I'm so proud about in that show is that at the time, most of our images were in sitcom sets. So that means a lot of our coverage is going to be tight. You got to be on the face for the joke.
Yeah.
They can't be, a beauty shot here. They want it stacked. So our images are almost like, and so you're not a human being in those boxes.
Right.
And I wanted so much to see, how can I see their bodies in space, Black bodies moving through space, was a way for you to connect as a human being, as a viewer, to that. And so trying to get more of that in the show was I was always endeavoring to do that. And I just saved my money and made the right pitches and did it on budget.
Jumping ahead a little bit, when I came to interview to be Regina and Mark and Dee's assistant, and they asked me, what did I like about the previous season? What did I like about it? And I said, I really like how you guys have handled Tony's exit. Because what you've done with Keisha Sharp is not try to replace Tony, but you've infused a new energy into the fourth season. And I said, I remember, like every other audience member, tuning in, wondering, what are we going to do with one of the Beatles gone? And you showed us that the music goes on. It continues. And what I learned before I had my own show, when you lose a cast member, is that the show was almost bigger than a character. Which is odd, because you created the character.
Right.
You birthed the character.
Right.
And you think you can't play music without this particular musician. But the truth is, the song is still one we want to hear.
Yes. You know how I deal with those things, Lena, and like in life, is I don't think I was using the word surrender. But am I going to lose the show over this?
Right.
No. She has a journey and we have a journey. And now we got to pivot.
Yeah.
And you're a leader. Go get in that car, go talk to God, go play the music, and go figure this out.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it. Life is going to be lifing.
Yeah. Life was lifing before people were saying that on Girlfriends.
Yes, yes. Of course, there's always, it's not the same. No, it's not the same.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah,
life isn't the same.
It's not the same.
People come and go out of your life.
And after 172 episodes, I mean, the flip I've been thinking about how long and steady we kept it together.
Okay. We're now going to go to a place about Girlfriends having what is technically a spinoff.
Yeah.
The Game. When I came to work at Girlfriends, what I remember is you walking
running back and forth down that hall.
Back and forth between The Game and Girlfriends, and The Game was in its second season. You do such a beautiful job with The Game and making sure we know it's a show from you and from your brand, but you want to make sure people know it's not Girlfriends. So how intentional were you about staffing that room and even sort of checking yourself to make sure The Game always felt different? How do you make it its own thing?
With The Game, I decided it was a sorority.
Yeah.
And that competition, The Game, was priority over their whatever relationship that they had.
Yeah.
That changes the whole tenor of the show right there. And the second thing is, if these were the women behind the men,
absolutely,
I needed then that room to be split. So I remember thinking this time around, I literally want to sit at the head of that table. I want to see half men, half women.
Wow.
And
so
I want
the sexes.
Yes. So that, because that's what, and also the idea of competition, that energy, going at each other, energy. I knew that I want to talk about race. I have to find writers who are willing to talk about race in a very candid way. I was very clear that I wanted to show that you can build friendship out of race, out of a bad place. Tasha Mack and Kelly Pitts,
come on,
they did not like each other. And Tasha thought, she had the upper hand, but no, Kelly would come back. She didn't care.
But such a great duo. You got one woman who's the mother, who's like managing her son's career and all that kind of stuff. And you got this white woman who's married to one of the
yeah.
And you got med school, of course. This young woman who's like studying to be a doctor, but happens to be married to a football player.
But I put all the culture in the show. Because those were the things we were upset about. Black athletes dating white women.
Sure.
So I just put it in the show. Let's talk about that.
You really tapped into something with culture with that one. I remember because Matthew Cherry did the whole thing, like bring it back.
Oh, yes,
it was a whole,
that was major.
It was the first time like the people really rallied around
and we
the
had
show.
these sort of public tools to talk about, because
and the internet was helpful.
Yeah, it was the first time you can democratize something. So the public facing idea of the audience saying, no, we want this show. We were in that moment too, which was amazing. I mean, to still make history over when we relaunched the show.
On BET.
On BET.
Those numbers, was it
7.7? It shook up the town.
Oh, I remember being at the premiere.
Everything. Yeah.
But I remember watching it with an audience, which is also a rare thing.
I know. We had a big audience. That was fun.
A rare thing to watch a TV
on a
premiere.
big screen like that.
Big screen. Yeah. It felt like you hit the lottery again.
If you go back at that time, there was not a lot of our images on big screen or the little screen.
Right.
The amount of opportunities to talk about what was authentic to us and air out, we were blessed to be able to do it. If you think about sports, we think about energy, we think about aggression. So the pace and the male presence in the show changed the nature of the show.
Black guys love the game.
Oh my God.
People love, but black dudes,
but
it's like for them. It's they're like, this is us.
It's my turn.
My turn. And also, I remember, like, I always tell people I didn't get a chance to go to HBCU. You went to PWI as well.
Yes.
But being on that lot, Radford,
oh my God.
I mean,
could you imagine? But my whole TV life is HBCU. South Central, Moesha.
But you created
then I created my own.
Your own universe.
My own universe.
You know what I'm saying? We had so much fun.
Our sets were popping.
Oh, yo. Okay, tape night. All right, people's birthday. Somebody go have a cake. The DJ, the live audience.
We had so much
I was
fun.
Like stepping into,
and the energy of going before the audience too. It feels like a game day, right?
I remember Debbie Allen was directing the first episode back too for Girlfriends. When I was there, and I was like, Debbie Allen's here. As we move on to another show that I think really redefined the Black woman protagonist on primetime TV. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Being Mary Jane. What were you trying to say to us about the Black woman in that moment?
I started to recognize that as a woman, I think that we have survived by a lot of our lies. This person who tells you the news every night seems like she got it all together. She's quiet.
There's a sheen.
She has a sheen, not even using a real name. And then for her as a character, what's going to kill you if you don't come to grips with some of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I love most about the show is her family. When you see her go home, you get a sense of, oh, this is not only who she is from, but it's who she seems to be kind of running away from.
Mm-hmm. She was connected to who they were yesterday and the pain of starting to see it wither. And so I think when you say trying to run away from it, more Mary Jane was scared that life wasn't turning out as promised.
It's interesting to go from Joan to the Mary Jane character, which they are very different. And I think that voice is very different too. Is being Mary Jane sort of a reflection of where you were at that time as well? Or is it just something you were ready to explore or go just to be a little bit more vulnerable in terms of what she was dealing with?
I really believe that as creators, and certainly my process is, when I go in to make something, I am in concert with source.
Yeah.
I'm open.
Yeah, it feels like that.
So when I was writing Girlfriends, this character started visiting me. And I would get messages. I could hear them and I would just write them down. And sometimes I was trying to write them in girlfriend.
On Post-it notes?
Funny enough, I had Post-it notes. So yes, they were. But often visit me when I was trying to write in my other, write for girlfriends, the game, whatever.
Oh yeah, I know about that. You working on something, but something else is knocking.
Over here,
You're like, sit down. I'm gonna get to you. I got to finish this draft today, but I'm gonna come over there. Yes.
But she visited me. She showed me who she was. She showed me the postage. She showed me her house.
Wow.
She told
nice
me,
house. Come on.
I'm gonna have a nice house.
Yes, you will. Production design gonna get in there.
Well, it's also my politics. We belong in all kind of spaces, beautiful spaces.
I learned that from you for sure about, aesthetics, not just for aesthetics' sake, but rather sort of honoring
beauty. Beauty to me in the sanctuary is a part of my writing process. That said, that's also part of my politics for us. That's what I want for us as people. I want our neighborhoods to be beautified. I want our homes to be organized because I think you're going to tap closer to source.
Because it's interesting, the thing that I kind of pick up on because I'm watching a bunch of your stuff like back to back to back. Beautiful spaces.
Yes.
Beautiful people.
Yes.
Dealing with some ugly shit.
Okay, come on, brand this.
I mean, on Being Mary Jane, there are things that she's
throwing all kind of. We put her in a
about.
glass house. From the metaphor of that, she's throwing so many rocks, and she lives in a glass house and not looking at her own self.
And it really connected with people immediately, quickly.
Because Mary Jane is also a fun character to write because she's unapologetic.
Anything can happen with the sperm, the stealing. You're like, what? Like, okay, I'm like, what's happening? Like,
this woman can do anything.
Yeah.
But when people say, oh my God, you got cameras in my house, that's me. I was like, see, we got work to do.
Okay, got some stuff to unpack.
We have some things to unpack.
And it's very cinematic, I think, with Being Mary Jane. And that leads me to my next project, where there's one particular movie I want to talk about because I was at this premiere. It stars someone, and also she was a part of making sure this movie.
She's our angel.
She's our angel. She's our angel. And I love that we also share this love for Whitney Houston. Let's talk about Sparkle. First thing I want to ask you is a little bit about process. When you sit down, you are open, but you're usually pulling from your own imagination or your own inspirations or from your own life. Yeah. When you sat down to do an adaptation or a retelling of a movie that had already been in existence, and obviously one where you're working with someone like Whitney Houston, who is a legend, an icon, and who wants to do a remake, if you will.
Yes.
How did you go about sitting down and having to write your version of Sparkle?
First of all, Salim brought me into the project because he knew that I would come in. Mara's gonna see something that is gonna be true to the essence of what we love the original to be.
Yes.
But how is it in a conversation with today?
Correct.
What I did not want to write is a man killing a woman. It's certainly not a Black woman. I was not interested in that.
Right.
But her sort of taking the fall for his death as a gift to the family out of love, but also a way to sort of reorient the whole story. And what does that look like then as a mother-daughter, and what you did or did not do in preparation for maybe your first daughter, but you were able to still have redemption in your second daughter, and the mirror that they had on each other and each other's lives, and what they were both willing to sacrifice to do that.
I'm going to ask you the question. What was it like working with Whitney Houston?
One thing I would love to share, like I remember when we talking about table reads, and I was so nervous and excited. I mean, nervous in general to hear it read, but then Whitney Houston's going to be sitting there and reading your words. Woo! But I remember after it was over, and it was a very successful table read, and she said to me that I was her angel.
What?
And she said, I've been trying to make this movie for, I think at that point, 13 years maybe.
Yeah.
And she goes, you got us the green light, and you're my angel. I mean, I'm done.
You're like, that. I can
done.
go down.
And scene.
Bye.
And that generosity, that connection. I also remember her having joy on the set. I'm so happy that there was a lot of laughter. And in fact, Salim often tells this story, like sometimes like he's, working on a different scene and Whitney's around, but she's not in the scene.
Right.
But anyway, he's hearing all this commotion on the set, and like he's, director, what's all that noise? I was Whitney over there entertaining, like just having fun with the PAs. And there was I can't remember what the dance was, but there was a new dance, and she was always trying to do the dance.
Come on.
She had a lot of joy, and actually a lot of the night before she passed, Salim he aired his director's cut.
Wow.
To a packed room. People loved it. It was an amazing screen. I remember saying to Salim, I cannot wait for Whitney to see this. I think about that often, but she knew she was making something special.
Yeah.
You know, Whitney, for me, is my first image maker. She's my first inspiration. I remember seeing her inside of 17 magazine.
Come on.
And I see
Before she was Whitney.
And I'm a teenager and I have 17 magazine. White. Who is this?
And she could be your cousin. Y'all know your favorite.
Okay. Thank you. Girl, you got me blown up when you say some stuff like that. But
it's real.
She was just light to me. She was inspiration. She was different. I just rooted for her all the way through. So then to get to work with her, and then for her to say that to you, and then also deliver a film that will live on, that really reflects her elegance, her talent, her taste, her style. I'm very proud to be a part of that project.
For you to see Whitney Houston in that magazine and like see something, I just believe your steps were ordered.
Yes.
To that moment, to that table read.
Yes.
For her to see you.
Yes. And give me that.
And give you that.
And give me that.
Last but not least, I want to get into you sitting in a director's chair. How was it for you the first time sitting in the director's chair on the game?
I could not have picked a better moment to be a director than to direct the most supportive, giving cast. We had so much fun, and also what was great to have a level of authority of storytelling that when, as a director, I'm like, ooh, I'm behind, knowing I had a power to be like, okay, we're gonna make our day, because I actually don't need that scene. I've already edited the episode, and I actually have that power to cut that scene, make the day. Yeah. Like, that gave me a safety to sort of save myself in the larger picture,
right,
but also get what I needed for the episode. Yeah. But really, Lena, it's interesting. That experience fortified something in me and validated something in me that I gave to myself. Can you direct, and could direct under these conditions when the train is moving at top speed, step away as the showrunner?
Yeah.
Do all these, can you do this and lead? But to go back and recently direct again, I want more of that expression, almost as another way to expand my voice, but also a reward of knowing I did my best to complete that idea and get as close to the vision in which it was downloaded or it was explored. Really excites me right now.
I love that. This will be my last question before I share some words with you. What is your definition of a classic TV show?
Being able to strike a level of connection and honesty in an exact time. It will remain evergreen in its storytelling. I think that makes a classic.
I think you've done that more than once.
Thank you.
Speaking of creating classic TV shows, I remember being on the Radford lot before I was an employee of yours. My sister and I came to a taping of the game in its first season. So, when you're sitting in the bleachers, you can see down on the stage, and I could see you standing behind the podium, just being fly, like glorious, charismatic, charming, obviously beautiful. And I just remember seeing you from the stands, like literally, and just thinking, I said to my sister, I'm going to work for her one day.
Wow.
That was sort of my 17 magazine moment.
Oh, wow. Come on, good. Don't get me, my makeup's cute. Don't get me crying up in here.
Because I think, you said you're a brand, and I also steal that from you. I think I've sort of become a brand myself, but I didn't know a television show creator could be a brand until I saw you. It was such a joy to be seen by you. Even those glances, those glimpses, those, hey, what's up? You kind of, you really taught me by example. And also watching you juggle all that stuff, watching you be a mom, be a wife, be a showrunner, be a show creator. And I would see you really walk through these Hollywood streets and walk into these meetings, and you win the room.
Wow, because I think you are killing the room, doing all the things. So if you're saying I am your inspiration or part of your inspiration for that, that is a beautiful compliment. And it's interesting how you said you saw me in that glance. I think light sees light. you needed to be Lena. Maybe you needed to see it as part of God's story.
Yes.
So you can light it up. And I mean, what you're doing with Hillman Grad, shining the light for so many other people, how it's transformed and impacted, and how you carried the baton. You took the light and you ran with it. I'm so happy, to be honest, that you landed in my safekeeping.
Yeah. You were my Ralph.
Yes.
Yeah.
To then also Underground Railroad you to Gina.
I think in a way, you knew I needed to be in her care.
I knew you needed to be here. Earlier in our conversation, I told you one of the biggest things I needed to
stay in LA.
Stay in LA. We needed you to stay in LA, and I was right.
Yeah, you were absolutely right.
I was right.
I'm so grateful for that call. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. Claire hit me. She was like, okay, go over there, be on time.
Because you did what you did and continue to do what you do, you've opened up doors for other people. So our tree just keeps growing.
It keeps growing. Well, thank you for being the seed. And then for you to tell Gina, like, you should get Lena. Lena should be an assistant. That was something that I think shifted something for me and Gina.
Yeah.
Because for Gina to be in that chair and for us to reminisce about me coming on to work on Secret Life of Bees, and then she, then led me over to Ava, and then so on and so on. So, but you will always.
You're like the baby we just.
I know. Just here. Your turn. Your turn. I'm the Lynn. I'm the Lynn. I'm the Lynn. From couch to couch to couch. Okay, you're the Joan. Started with you.
But you blew up. Girl, come on. It's funny, that's why I started Writers Colony for me.
Yes.
Is because who's catching?
Mm-hmm.
Who's catching?
That's why I started the Hillman Grad Mentorship Lab,
And whispering to them all the knowledge that was gifted to us, all the seeds that were given to us. One, for the fun of it. And that's also a way collaboration is fun. But it's for the community of it. Because I have a community, Gina called me. I am in desperate need of...
Yes.
You know what? I got somebody.
Yeah.
Ralph did that for me. Debbie Allen has done that for me. And I think if we all keep shining our light on each other, we'll just keep the glow up. Is that what they say?
Yeah. Thank you for being my beginning. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Love you.
I'm proud of you, Lena. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. That's a cut.